Money sign Jarek here.
Hey guys, it's me, Jaden, and I'm Pang.
What's up, guys? CJ here, and we're the Daisy Side Dudes. Welcome to our show, and this episode, it is currently November 2nd. We're here, cozy in our own homes, we don't want to get cold or whatever, and we'll be focusing on the great Gatsby. Gatsby! So, Jade and Jer, how are we feeling today? Really excited about what we're talking about today.
I'm pretty excited too. It was a pretty okay book. It wasn't my favorite, but it was okay. You, Jer?
Yeah, I'm pretty turned on, ready to talk about this book. I'm ready to have a good time.
All right.
Okay, so before we dive into the book itself, let's talk about the author, F. Scott Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald was born in St. Paul, Minnesota, all the way back in 1896.
Damn, and that's a really long time ago. He was pretty good. I'm pretty sure he went to Princeton, New Jersey. So that's kind of nice. Like he's from our home state. Like he's part of us. He's inside of us basically. And I know that in 1920 he published his first novel. It's called The Side of Paradise.
Yeah, Princeton, top university as of right now, 2023. I don't know how well they were back then, but education aside, F. Scott Fitzgerald was a great writer, but unfortunately he passed at the age of 44 due to a heart attack. He went out sadly, but he left a literary legacy behind in the writing world. But yeah, enough with the author, and let's get to our initial thoughts here. Low key, the beginning was kind of trash. I'm gonna admit, it was pretty boring. In Disney World, that Dumbo attraction. I don't know why I'm saying that. It just went through my mind. But you go 20 times. It's like a carnival ride, whatever.
I have no idea what you're
But it's not until chapter 5, 6, 7 where you get that good stuff. Get that cocaine. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. I thought the book was okay. I'm not really into books like that. I'm more of a dystopian novel person myself. So, it was just an okay book. But, side note, my favorite character was Meyer Wolfsheim. How about you, Jared?
No, I agree with Carl. I feel like the beginning of the book was kind of boring. I really struggled to be into the book, be within the book. But yeah, and I like the Disney reference because I love their ice cream sandwiches.
All right. Thanks, Jared, for that initial thought. But no, let's get to the good stuff. Those ice cream sandwiches that Jared likes. Let's talk about the characters real quick. Nick, we don't really know much about him. It was only in the beginning of the story where we saw how honest and quote unquote not judgmental. Cause we already know first person, he legit talking about everyone. We're legit seeing through his eyes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I agree. I think he was a very blunt person, and he just never held back any of his thoughts. And he thought he was the only I guess you could say pure person around. But later in the book we figure out that that's not true. No spoilers. But how about you, Jer? What did you think about Nick?
Nick's chill. He's not a bad narrator. I'd say he's pretty valid, starting with a V. But yeah, it's pretty important how he's the narrator because he did mention in the story that he does have a biased perspective. So some things that we're hearing, they may not be we can't really rely on Nick to tell the truth there. But yeah, so I think that him being the narrator plays a big part in the story. I feel like if it was someone else like Gatsby, I feel like his narration would be way different than Nick's. But I appreciate Nick's narration. It's pretty good, and it made the story very interesting.
Yeah, I really agree with Jared because without Nick, we wouldn't see who Gatsby really is because Gatsby really he really opened up to Nick. he didn't really open up to anyone else. But we really know the reason why he did that. So why don't we get to Gatsby next? How is he as a person, Jaden?
Well, from what I really see it as, Gatsby was a down bad individual for Daisy, and he was just trying his best to get with her, and he since like the beginning of the story, or when we learn about it, he's always been, or he's always had his eyes set on Daisy. So yeah, there's that. But how about you, Carl? What do you think?
Well, Gatsby, yeah, he really wanted Daisy, but like you knew he had it in the bag when we know that he's pretty rich. And what I mean like rich, like money, Bill Gates type rich. Like he could get anything he wanted. Like it was pretty easy for him to, get Daisy, even though we knew that Daisy was married. But, it is what it is. So, how about you, Jer? What do you think?
I think Gatsby was like a pretty chill dude. I feel like his obsession with Daisy was it was a little weird. It felt more like he really, like, it didn't feel like a true love at that point. It just felt like he wanted to possess her like that, which is really weird. But, he did succeed. I personally think he succeeded. And yeah,
Wow,
I mean,
what an opinion. What an opinion.
can I add something
You
really
really
quick?
thought he succeeded.
He
Yeah.
always, yeah, he always mentioned her as that green light, and he's always had his eyes on on that green light, and like Jared said, he accomplished it, accomplished getting to the green light at the end of it. But yeah, that's all.
So, like, speaking of Daisy now, let's get to Daisy real quick. My opinion, like, just like for short, bro is like greedy. She's literally a hoe. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, she's like asking way too much, man. She's like she wants too much.
yeah, I agree. I also feel like her character, like Daisy as a character, she's like pretty good to represent like what females were like in America during the time of this book, which was like the 1920s, I think. And yeah, I feel like Daisy, she tried to like what do you call it? She tried to protect her reputation from others. She tried to act as like this innocent human being, but really she's like I don't know. She's very ambiguous, and like some people might think that her character is disturbing because of what happens towards the end of the book. But yeah, Daisy's like she's chill. Princess Daisy, no Peach.
No
I
peach.
I feel like
But
I feel like she couldn't really find the perfect balance between her greed for wealth and her longing for happiness. So I think
Yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah. Like like how this book is like centralized around the American dream. Like I
yeah,
feel like her character is perfect to set around like what I believe Fitzgerald's message was that like the American dream, like although it may be achievable, it's like the push is very hard, and like I feel like Daisy represents that perfectly, because like with Tom, that's where she gets like her wealth, but then with Gatsby, that's where she gets her happiness,
exactly.
and she just struggles to like find a balance between the two, and ultimately like nothing works for her in the end.
I I agree with you, Jared. Speaking back to the 1920s, that was like the age of the Great Depression age. And women were represented as, they didn't really do much, because it's mostly the men that did the work. They took the jobs, and women were seen as like housewives. So I think Scott Fitzgerald was like really keen on Daisy, how she really didn't do anything except seek men for money.
Yeah, that's that's a very valid point. But what do we think about Tom? What do we think of him
Ooh,
as a
Tom.
person and like just throughout the book as a whole?
Meh, he's okay, I guess. I mean, like, I don't really have that big of an opinion on him. I guess towards like the beginning of the book, I really thought that like I didn't really like Tom. I thought he was like gonna be like a bad guy because like the way that Nick portrayed him, he just felt like Tom just like didn't care. He was very reckless with what he did in his life, and some of the ways he treated Daisy. It's like sometimes I just question like why Daisy would like fall in love with Tom because Tom would just be like throwing around money everywhere, and it's like he doesn't really give an F about like the relationship. He's just like, you want money, here you go. Like, I don't know, it was just weird.
Yeah, I think Tom was just, trying to have a relationship just to have one. And he knew that he had, like the wealth to back it up if anything happened. And, that's one of the big things Daisy wanted. So, of course, you know, she stayed. And he just basically did whatever because he had that kind of power and control.
All right. So that's the characters. And moving forward, why don't we talk about, since we've been talking about a lot with these characters, and like how they portrayed the themes for The Great Gatsby. So for me, I think a really big theme is the American dream, like especially it can be seen in, Daisy and Gatsby about the wealth and how the American dream can corrupt you really in the end. What do you guys think?
I think like the American Dream is like more of like a hidden message that really played a big part in the story. Like every character, I feel like has their own American dream. Like Gatsby, his American dream to be successful is to like he just wants to be with Daisy. Like he knows that like he made it to the top already in terms of wealth. Everyone's going to his parties. He has a nice mansion that everyone loves. But like he's not happy until he's with Daisy. So like that's his American dream. And then I feel like Tom's like American dream, the way Tom thinks he'll be successful is just to like be in a relationship with Daisy, and we can see that he really cares to just be in a relationship. Like when uh him and Gatsby had like their own argument, and then Gatsby was like, "Oh, like Daisy never loved you," and all that. And like we can see that like Tom really cares. Then with Daisy, like her American dream was like a bit of both sides. Like she wanted the wealth and she wanted the happiness with both Tommy and Gatsby, and that was like really a struggle for her. But I feel like a character that like we don't see what they want to be successful in is Nick. I feel like Nick as a narrator, like yeah, we get his perspective on things, but we're also missing out on other things such as like what he thinks will make him successful.
Um, I mean, I totally agree with everything that Jer said or that you said, Jer. Um, but like, I think like the overall like message that they're trying to like portray or that Fitzgerald is trying to portray is that like the American dream, no matter like who is like who it's like whose point of view it can be seen from, it's still misleading and destructive, and like you can see like all the fights that like or all the complications that happened when Daisy, Gatsby, and Tom were talking, and they were just all over the place, and there was a lot of heat being thrown around.
Yeah, you know, it's like the American Dream Mall, cause like you go to that mall and you're like all excited. You're like, oh my god, biggest mall ever. Like they have everything, and then once you get there, you're kind of disappointed because it's just like this big mall with like a bunch of things to do. But then when there's so much things to do, you're like, what do you really want to do? And then when you leave, you just end up disappointed. And then like most of the time, people just go to the American Dream and they're like never come back. They'll go back to their local mall. So American Dream, American Dream, American Dream, like those all tie together.
Thank you, thank you, Jer, for that great analogy. American Dream. I love it. Similar things, by the way. Anyway, but besides, I think another part of the American Dream theme can be wealth. Wealth, it's very big in terms in the Great Gatsby. With Gatsby and Tom, they really had the money and wealth. But Tom was different, as it was generational and he had it from past generations. But Gatsby had to earn it, and he used that money that he earned for his love to Daisy. But even that wealth, the wealth became corrupt to him because he used all that wealth. But in my opinion, he didn't become successful to get Daisy. Like, he wasn't able to get Daisy in the end because we already know, bah, 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 he got shot. When Daisy, he went to live with Tom in the end in the apartment in New York. So I believe that wealth is a very big theme in regards to, Gatsby and the American Dream. And speaking of Daisy, Tom, and Gatsby, these main characters, they really started the conflict for the Great Gatsby. In chapters 5, 6, 7, 8. They really made this novel intriguing. Well, especially for, in this case, in this part, because the rest was just trash in my opinion. But anyway, the biggest conflict, I believe, was definitely the love triangle between them. And Daisy really had a tough decision to make between money from Gatsby and her reputation, as since she's already married. What do you think, Jaden?
I just think that, like, no, like, extra shade on Daisy, but I just really didn't like her throughout the story. Like, she was a big troublemaker, and even so at the end, what she did with the car and everything. But she couldn't decide whether she wanted, I guess you could say, love and happiness compared to, like, a large sum of wealth. And she just kept, getting herself involved with people that she shouldn't be, or even so, she should be involving herself with them, but not in the right circumstances. Because obviously we already know that Tom and Daisy were married, and she was happy with. She wasn't happy with Tom, but she was happy with the money that he brought. And at the same time, she was seeing Gatsby because he made her happy, which is what Tom couldn't give her.
Mhm.
So, that's that big love triangle between the three of them, and it was just, all over the place. And I just didn't like her. She causes a lot of problems. A lot of problems are never good. You don't want problems. But, Jer, how about you?
Yeah, man. Like she hit someone and bam, death, murder, and she flew away. And then another person got murdered, and then she wasn't there for the funeral for the guy that she wanted to be with. It was terrible. She's a murderer and does not deserve to be here.
Bro, that's so true. And the
That is
fact that
very true.
Gatsby was the one that wanted to take the blame for that. It was Daisy the one that was driving that car, but Gatsby was the one that wanted to take the blame just because she loved him.
And that's when
or
he
loved
died.
her.
He got. Okay, so let's get into the setting and the symbolism of the Great Gatsby. First, let's start with you, Carl. What do you have to say about the symbolism in the story?
It's not really like a big symbol, but I just really want to talk about, you know, not just the symbol, but the setting of the Great Gatsby. You know, it's the 1920s. People drinking, people partying, and people just not caring. So that's why I'm saying how one of the symbols that I like to talk about is recklessness. Like, recklessness was really big, and that could be part of conflicts too. How people were not caring about anything, people screaming, yelling at each other. And back in the, I think it was chapter 4 or 5, where Nick was he had a list of people that went to Gatsby's party, and I think it wasn't even one person. It was every single person that he listed had a major problem about themselves that was really concerning. Like there's people drinking, people fighting each other, people having affairs, people dating more than one woman. There's even a guy who jumped into the subway and died. And we can't forget about, you know, when Daisy hit Myrtle and legit just killing her.
Rest in
So
peace.
I think recklessness was really a big symbol in The Great Gatsby.
Yeah, those are all valid points, and I think that's a big part of all the conflict that happens in the story. You, Jer, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so I mean, in my view of the story, a really big symbol was obviously the green light that we learned about more towards the end of the story, where Daisy and Gatsby go back to his apartment studio thing, and from across of where he lives, he says that, oh yeah, every day you could see the green light at your house, and it just reminds me of you. And basically that's kind of like a foreshadowing of his dream of always wanting to get with Daisy. And at the end of the story it mentions that green light again, so that's where that foreshadowing comes in. But basically the connection is the green light, Daisy, and Gatsby always looking at that green light, symbolizing his dream. What about you, Jim?
Yeah, I agree with that too. It's a good point.
Okay.
We're gonna play a game. It's called F. Scott Fitzgerald. Why should we F. Scott Fitzgerald? All right, I'm gonna say name a character.
Yes, sir.
This is my favorite part.
All right, Jared, what are we gonna do today? What are we gonna do?
All right. So I'm gonna say name a character, and you guys are gonna say the first word that comes to mind. All right. All right. First name up. Nick.
NPC.
Narrator.
I'll explain myself later.
All right. Next name. Gatsby.
Wealthy.
Lover.
All right. Next. Daisy.
Ho.
Gold
Oh.
digger.
That's actually 2 words, but I'll let it pass.
Okay, buddy. We don't need to get to that. You know what I mean.
Alright.
We're getting a little.
Next-
That's a little too technical here.
Okay, buddy.
All right. Next name. Tom.
Whatever. I don't know.
We don't really care about him.
All right. Last character. George with a gun.
Gatsby.
George, that's the character. Specifically, George with a gun. Gatsby. I think that's the appropriate one-word response. Gatsby.
All right. Thank you everyone for joining this section of. and we'll see you on the next section of game time. All right. So I think we're almost getting done here. But before we go, I'm gonna leave the audience with something good, something special, something yummy for their tummy, and we're gonna give you guys some recommendations, a little rating about The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. So yeah.
Scott Fitzgerald.
Yep. All right. So in the 3 week span of reading this book, in my personal opinion, my personal humble opinion that I think should be respected, this book has its ups and downs. I'd say from chapters 1 through 4, if I were to rate the entertainment, how entertained I was from those chapters, it would get a 3 out of 10. So that's 10 minus 7, which is 3. So that's not the best rating. But then the book really picks it up a notch through like chapters 5 through 8, like the middle of the book. Like I'd give that on an entertainment scale out of 10. I'd give that an 8 out of 10, which is that's pretty good. Actually,
Yes,
I'm gonna
sir.
bump it up.
Yes,
I'm gonna
sir.
bump it up. I'm gonna give it an
Oh,
eight point
oh,
seven
shoot.
nine out of 10. Yeah,
Oh,
add that
wow.
point 7 9. Big
Wow.
fraction
Okay,
right there.
okay.
Big fraction. All right, and the last chapter, chapter 9. It's like a mix of like the prior chapters. I give it a 6 out of 10. It was okay. 9 upside down is 6.
Okay.
Bro, I think bro turned into Nick. Bro gave us his honest opinion. No bias
Oh,
whatsoever. No judgment.
just straight facts.
No, but I agree, you know. I like to thank Miss Holborn, you know. She gave us a pretty good book, you know. Like yeah, The Great Gatsby beginning just like what I said in the beginning.
The Great Gatsby is
First few
pretty great.
chapters. The Great Gatsby was pretty great. Anyway, so just like what I said in the beginning, The Great Gatsby, you know, it was pretty boring in the beginning. I didn't really find any entertainment in that. So I would agree, 3 out of 10 on the first few chapters. But you know, the juicy, medium rare stuff, you know, what Jer said, I'm gonna actually bump that up to a 10 out of 10. That really made my pants shrivel, you know. It made it made it made my legs quiver, you know. It made my head spinning. You know.
Go on.
I really enjoyed that love triangle. I really enjoyed the American dream. I really enjoyed Nick's point of view. I hated Tom. I hated him. He was a B word for real. And those discussions that we had in class, you know, it was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. I enjoyed it. But then, you know, the ending was you know. Like I was pretty surprised that Gatsby died. I will admit. Like I enjoyed the killing part. Like bro shot him while he was just chilling in the pool. Like the one time he wasn't flirting with Daisy or whatever, or like spending his money, he got shot. Like what's up with that?
Bro.
So yeah, I just like to say, you know, if you don't like the book, just watch the movie. that's really it. But if you like reading, you know, I think this book is great for you. It's a great Gatsby for you.
Wow. Okay. I mean, like I said earlier, my initial thoughts. You know, the book's alright. Nothing special to me. The only reason it was special before we read it was because it was always a book and like a movie that I've wanted to watch/read. So you know, now that I read the book, it's maybe not something I want to watch so much. But you know, it was a hard book to get through for me. So if you're more into stuff like, you know, the Hunger Games and stuff like that, this is definitely not, you know, the book for you. Or maybe it is, you know, maybe you're, you know, you like a bunch of different kind of books. But like the other two said, I'm gonna be rating the chapters. You know, the beginning of the book 1 through 4. I'll keep it simple, maybe like a 2 for me, because you know, really hard to get hooked onto the book. But then the middle of the book started ramping up a little bit, so maybe I'll give it like a 5 out of 10. And then, you know, at the end of the book, that's actually the only part that I really like. So, you know, I would give it like maybe like a 6 or a 7 out of 10. And that was only because, you know, I got surprised that somebody killed Gatsby and that somebody was being George. And yeah, I maybe might watch the movie, might not. You know, we'll see. But is that everything we have to say, guys?
I think that covers everything, you know. You think so too, Jer?
Yeah, I agree.